This is how Charles Oliveira beats Ilia Topuria. UFC 317 is finally official, and headlining the card, Ilia Topuria versus Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira. A high-stakes matchup between two absolute killers. No surprises here. This fight felt inevitable. With Jack Della Maddalena winning his war last Saturday, Islam Makhachev is now moving up to challenge him at welterweight, leaving Ilia and Charles to settle unfinished business in the lightweight division. Now here's the crazy part. Ilia has opened as a massive favorite, as high as 400. Sure, it makes sense. The guy's undefeated, hits like a truck, and walks forward like a savage. But let's not pretend Charles Oliveira is just another name on the list. We're talking about a former lightweight champion with the most finishes in UFC history. A man who has submitted elite strikers, outgunned top grapplers, and walked through hell more times than most fighters have even entered the cage. Ilia is dangerous, no question, but Charles has the blueprint. So let's break down step by step how Charles Oliveira can hand Ilia Topuria his first loss. This won't be easy, but it's very possible. Disclaimer, this isn't a prediction before we go further. No, this doesn't mean I'm picking Charles to win. Every time I do a video like this, someone cries in the comments when the favorite wins. This is a breakdown, not a prediction. It's a roadmap for how the underdog could get the upset. Got it? Good. Chapter 1. Shut down the pressure. Boxing, Ilia Topuria's biggest weapon. Relentless forward pressure and sharp, compact boxing. He doesn't just walk you down, he hounds you, stalking, cutting off the cage, and unloading crisp combinations the moment you freeze up. Ask Josh Emmett, Bryce Mitchell, or even Max Holloway. None of them had an answer for the way Ilia controls distance and pace. He forces mistakes, then punishes them brutally. But here's the thing, there is a blueprint. In round 2 of the Holloway fight, Max finally started to chip away at Ilia's rhythm. He used oblique kicks, low calf kicks, and quick straight punches to keep Ilia from planting his feet and exploding forward. It didn't win Max the fight, but it slowed Ilia just enough to stop the snowball effect. And that's where Charles Oliveira comes in. Charles isn't known for oblique kicks, but if there was ever a time to start, it's now. Ilia loads heavily on his lead leg, like most power punchers do, and that opens him up to being kicked off balance, disrupted, and even damaged over time. Mix in chopping low kicks, a stiff jab down the middle, and teep kicks to the midsection, and suddenly Ilia's pressure starts looking a lot less clean. Oliveira doesn't have to outbox him early, he just needs to disrupt him, turn Ilia from a confident stalker into a hesitant striker, and once that pressure stalls, the rest of Charles's game can start flowing. Shut down the pressure and you shut down the storm. Chapter 2. Keep him at kickboxing range. If Charles Oliveira wants to survive and thrive in this fight, he needs to keep it at kickboxing range, not inside a boxing phone booth. Why? Because Ilia's hands are fast, compact, and violent. In close, he's a surgeon, ripping clean combinations with zero wasted motion. Get into a pure boxing exchange with him, and you're playing Russian roulette with a loaded chamber. But at kicking range, that's where the fight starts to tilt in Charles's favor. From distance, Oliveira can start to dictate pace and rhythm. He can mix low calf kicks to compromise Ilia's base, teep kicks to the body to sap his gas tank, and most importantly, high kicks to keep him guessing. In fact, the head kick may be the biggest X factor in this matchup. Let's not forget, Ilia got dropped by Jai Herbert's high kick at 155, and that wasn't a fluke. Even earlier in his career, Topuria was stunned by similar shots from range. His style is aggressive, yes, but it leaves him exposed when he bites down and marches forward with his guard down. And Charles? He's got a sneaky, surgical high kick in his arsenal. Ask Beneil Dariush what it feels like when that shin wraps around your temple. Even if it doesn't land clean, the threat alone changes the fight. Ilia's hands come up, his pressure slows down, and suddenly Charles has time and space to operate. Keep Ilia at kickboxing range, and he becomes a lot more beatable. Close the distance, and you're feeding the lion. Stay long, and you start to tame him. Chapter 3. Use the jab and straight shots Ilia. Topuria's pressure is brutal, but it's not flawless. One key flaw, he tends to walk in straight lines, and often leans on shoulder rolls and head movement to avoid damage instead of tight, defensive structure. That might work in boxing, but in MMA, with 4-ounce gloves and a cage, not a ring, that's a gamble. A shoulder roll can't save you from everything when a clean jab or right hand sneaks through. Max Holloway exposed this tendency, so did Volkanovski in flashes. When they committed to straight punches, they found Ilia's chin, not because he's reckless, but because his style demands forward motion, which leaves openings when he's off-timed or off-balanced. This is where Charles Oliveira's underrated boxing comes into play. He may not throw a jab-heavy game like a pure striker, but when he commits to the jab and straight right, it's fast, long, and punishing. He stunned Chandler, dropped Gaethje, and cracked Dariush, all with crisp shots down the pipe. Against Ilia, Charles needs to lean on that straight attack, a stiff jab to halt the march, a straight right to punish overextensions, and ideally, mixing these with low kicks and high kicks to confuse Ilya's reads. It's not just about scoring points, it's about buying time and space. Make Ilya hesitate, make him think twice before charging in, because the moment his pressure breaks rhythm, the whole game shifts. Straight punches don't just keep Charles safe, they set traps, draw counters, and open the door for everything else. Chapter 4. Do not stay on the feet too long. Here's the brutal truth, no sugarcoating it. Charles Oliveira cannot afford to strike with Ilia Topuria for extended periods. Yes, Charles has good Muay Thai. Yes, he can land clean shots. But if he tries to go punch for punch with Ilya, he's playing with fire, and he's not fireproof. Ilya doesn't need 5 clean shots. He needs one, just one overhand, one counter hook, one well-timed bomb, and the whole fight can flip on its head. Don't forget, Volkanovski, one of the most defensively sound strikers in MMA, got flattened. Max Holloway, a volume machine with an iron chin, still got clipped and frozen. Charles is dangerous on the feet. Let's be honest, he's not a better striker than Max or Volk, so trying to win a prolonged striking battle against Ilya, that's a losing game plan. Instead, Charles needs to strike with purpose, not pride. Use the jab, teeps, and high kicks, but only to set traps, create reactions, and open the door for what really matters. Transitions, scrambles, clinch entries, takedowns, submissions. The longer Charles stays standing, the closer he gets to getting caught. Keep it tight, keep it smart, touch him, disrupt him, then drag him into deep waters, because on the ground, this fight looks very, very different. Chapter 5. Force the clinch. This is where the tide can turn. We haven't seen Ilia Topuria tested in the clinch. Not really. Most of his fights play out at striking range, where he's in control, dictating the pace, breaking guys down. But in the clinch, that's unexplored territory for him, and for Charles Oliveira, that's home turf. He's a monster in close. From chest to chest range, Charles is deadly. Brutal knees to the body and head, sharp elbows in tight quarters, sneaky trip takedowns and hip throws, and most dangerous of all, lightning fast back takes. And Charles clinches. It's not just to stall or rest, it's to initiate chaos. He turns clinches into scrambles, scrambles into back control, and back control into fight-ending submissions. But the key here, Charles must be the one to initiate. Don't wait for Ilya to get inside and unload combinations. Crash the pocket first, tie him up before he plants his feet. Force Ilya to react, make him uncomfortable, off rhythm, and take away the space he needs to load up his boxing. This also neutralizes Ilya's power. Inside the clinch, those looping punches lose steam. His pressure-based game grinds to a halt when he's stuck defending trips or worrying about getting dragged into a grappling exchange. Every second Charles spends in the clinch is a second he's not absorbing bombs. It's a second closer to a takedown, a scramble, or a submission opportunity. The longer they stay glued together, the more the fight tilts toward do Bronx. Control the clinch, control the chaos. That's how Charles wins. Chapter 6. Take it to the ground. Let's call it like it is. Ilia Topuria has solid wrestling, heavy top control, and a background in grappling. He's no slouch on the mat. But Charles Oliveira isn't just another BJJ black belt. He's the most dangerous submission artist in UFC history, with a record number of finishes to prove it. And unlike many grapplers who play it safe, Charles brings pure chaos. He doesn't need position first. He creates it mid-scramble. He attacks during transitions, hunts submissions in flurries, and forces mistakes from even elite grapplers. The ground is where Charles thrives and Ilya gets tested, and it's not just about getting a takedown. Charles doesn't even need a clean one. He can pull guard, roll for a leg, scramble off a clinch trip, and suddenly he's attacking your neck or climbing your back. That's the danger, because once Charles gets on your back, it's basically a death sentence. Ask Dustin Poirier, who tapped in seconds. Ask Michael Chandler, who got folded and finished. Ask Justin Gaethje, who thought he could survive the backpack and didn't. Ilya's never been in that kind of storm. If Charles can drag him into deep grappling waters, where instinct and experience matter more than athleticism, he doesn't just win rounds, he ends fights. On the ground, Ilya stops being the hunter, he becomes prey. And Charles, he's been feasting on prey his entire career. Chapter 7. Break the rhythm, make it ugly. This is the final, and maybe most important, key to beating Ilia Topuria. Disrupt his rhythm, shatter his timing, make it messy. Ilya is a precision killer when the fight goes his way. When he's calm, composed, and in rhythm, he's nearly untouchable, slicing through opponents with clean combos, perfect counters, and calculated pressure. But take away that rhythm, shake that composure, now he's human. Charles Oliveira can't let this turn into a technical sparring match. He can't sit back and let Ilia dictate the flow. He needs to inject chaos. That means kick heavy offense to keep Ilia resetting clinch work to shut down momentum. Wild scrambles that force Ilia to react, not dictate, and constant unrelenting pressure, even if it looks reckless. In other words, Charles needs to be Charles. The same Charles who overwhelmed Gaethje with wild flurries. The same Charles who drowned Chandler in a storm of violence. The Charles who walks through fire and thrives in the madness. Playing it safe is the fastest way to lose. Trying to fight clean is what Ilia wants. Instead, Charles has to bring the fight to the edge, where comfort dies and instinct takes over. Make Ilia uncomfortable, make him question, make him bleed, because once the rhythm breaks and the fight turns dirty, Charles doesn't just survive, he takes over. Can it happen? Will it be easy? Hell no. Ilia Topuria is undefeated for a reason, but Charles Oliveira isn't just some stepping stone. He's been written off before, and every time he shows why that's a mistake. The path is there, the weapons are there, but it'll take the perfect storm, and a Charles Oliveira willing to risk it all. Can Do Bronx do it? Only one way to find out.